Hello guys, how are you today? I hope you're fine. Today we're going to talk about light reflection. Light reflection is a phenomena of the light bouncing off in the same medium when it strikes a reflecting surface. So let's see how we see things. Light coming from the sunlight, it strikes the tree, and then light is reflected back to the eye or the person seeing things. This is how we see things. Today we're going to talk about reflection in mirrors. Okay, let's see. When we put a light here, okay, it's this light strikes the mirror and then it bounces off. It bounces off. Okay, so we call here, this is the incident ray and this is the reflected ray. Okay, and then we're going to talk about, we have this angle of incidence and this is the angle of reflection. Okay, let's light reflection takes place via reflecting surfaces such as mirrors. Okay, reflection in all types of mirrors is governed by two principles. We're going to talk about them now. Types of reflection. Here we have when the surface is smooth like the mirror. This is called regular reflection. Okay, this is called regular reflection. The incident ray strikes the mirror and the reflected ray bounces off. Here we have, in case of irregular surface, can you see this surface is irregular? Diffused reflection takes place. The incident ray strikes the irregular surface and the reflected ray strikes in different directions. This is called irregular, okay, because the reflected ray doesn't it doesn't reflect in a regular form, okay, like this one. This is the difference between regular and irregular reflection. Okay, this is really important. You have to know the definition of each word here, like incident ray, reflected ray. This is the normal and this is the angle of incidence and this is the angle of reflection. Okay, and this is the point of incidence and this is the mirror. Okay, you have to know the parts of this diagram. Reflection of light. When the light falls on the highly polished surface like a mirror, most of the light is sent back into the same medium. This process is called the reflection of light. So here for reflection in all types of mirrors is governed by two principles or two principal laws. Like the first law says that the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Can you see here? When the light here, this is the angle, this is the incident ray strikes the mirror, the plane mirror, and we have here, this is, we call it the normal. This is the normal, and then this incident ray is reflected in the form of reflected ray. Okay, so here we have angle. So we call this part here from the normal, from this angle between the normal and the incident ray, we call it the angle of incidence, and this angle here we call it the angle of reflection because it is between the normal and the reflected ray. Okay, this is really important. You have to know and you have to learn the laws of reflection. And so as we said now, the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. So this angle is equal to this angle. This is the first law. The incident ray and the reflected ray and the normal to the plane at the point of incidence here at this part all lie on the same plane. All of these things, they lie on the same plane. Okay, so the incident ray, this is the incident ray, the reflected ray and the normal to the mirror at the point of incidence, to the point, okay, at the point of incidence, all of these, they lie in the same plane. They lie on the same plane. Okay, this is another diagram for this. So let's learn the definition of each the definition of each word here. Incident ray is the light. It is the light ray that falls on the reflecting surface. So here it is the light ray that falls on the reflecting. This is the reflecting surface. Okay. The angle of incidence. It is the angle between the incident ray and the normal, as we said before. So this angle is between the incident ray and the normal. Here, in case what is reflected ray, it is the light ray that bounces or returns back from the reflecting surface. So it is that light ray that bounces or returns back from the reflecting surface. Then between the reflected ray and the normal, we have this angle of reflection. So what is the definition of angle of reflection? It is the angle between the reflected ray and the normal. Okay, so you have to know all these definitions very well. Again, this is the incident ray, the ray of light falling on the surface, the reflected ray, the incident ray bouncing back on the same medium after striking the reflecting surface. Point of incidence, this is the point of incidence of the mirror surface where the incident ray strikes and the reflected ray bounces off. The normal, this is the normal ray. Okay, in the line is the line. It is the line drawn perpendicular to the reflecting surface at the point of incidence. This is the point of incidence. So this is the normal. It is the line that is drawn perpendicular. Can you see it's perpendicular to the reflecting surface? This is the reflecting surface, which is the mirror. Okay, at the point of incidence. The angle of incidence, okay, the angle between the incident ray and the normal. The angle of reflection is between it is the angle between the normal, okay, and the reflected ray. This is really important to know. Let's go back. Okay, so if we have the question here, sometimes some questions we have like the incident ray which falls perpendicular on the reflecting surface reflects on itself. Okay, so if the incident ray, okay, this is really important, it's a little bit tricky. When the incident ray falls perpendicular on the reflecting surface, so if we don't have this angle here and this incident ray is perpendicular on the reflecting surface, reflects on itself. This is because the angle of incidence, so this means that the angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. So here the angle of incidence will be equal to angle of reflection, which is equal to 0. So here we have, if the incident ray is here, the reflected ray will come back on the same side, okay, on the same plane. This means the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection is equal to 0. Okay, so let's have a quick so if we have, for example, let's give an example here. For example, if we have 60, the angle of incidence is 60. Can we know the angle of reflection? Yes, it's going to be 60 because we said that the angle of incidence, we have a law here. It says that the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. So if we have 60, so the angle of incidence is 60, so the angle of reflection is going to be 60. If we have here this angle, if in the problem we have they gave us this angle and they didn't give us the angle of incidence, it's really easy because this is a perpendicular, the normal is perpendicular to the reflecting surface. Okay, so it's easy to get this angle, the angle of incidence, from this angle. So if we have here, for example, 40, here we have 40, and this we can get 90 minus 40, it's going to be 60. So this is how to calculate the angles in the for the reflected and for the reflected rays. Okay, let's talk quickly, give you a brief point or important note. Mirrors are reflecting surfaces for light, and mirrors could be divided into two main types: plane mirrors and spherical mirrors. Spherical mirrors could be like concave mirror and convex mirror. This topic we can talk about it later in another video, and I hope that today's video was beneficial to you and it wasn't you understood it. Thanks for listening and goodbye for now.